While there's no lack of options for righties when it comes to gaming mice, it's slim pickings for southpaws. That's where the Roccat Kova excels. Affordable and functional, the Kova sports an ambidextrous design that is both comfortable and stylish. It lacks some of the customizability and premium features seen in Editor's Choice winners like the Razer Death Adder Chroma and the Corsair M65 RGB laser gaming mouse. But its solid performance, design, and price make it a mouse worth considering for both left and right-handed gamers. Before we get started on our Roccat Kova review, we've included links in the description to various pricing options for the mouse, so make sure you check those out. Measuring a slim 1.49 by 2.59 by 5.15 inches, the Kova weighs 3.5 ounces. That's slightly narrower but longer than the Razer Diamondback and the SteelSeries Sensei Wireless, two other ambidextrous gaming mice. But where we found the Diamondback's narrowness to be slightly uncomfortable, the Kova has a rounded palm rest that makes it fit nicely in your hand. The Kova comes in two colors, white and black. I tested the black version, which is actually closer to charcoal in color, with the exception of its jet black buttons. The body is plastic with a matte finish and features RGB lighting on the scroll wheel and on the outer rim of the palm rest. Lighting customization on the Kova is fairly limited. You can select from between two pulsing lighting effects and choose any of 16.8 million colors. But that's the extent of it. Good button placement can make or break a gaming mouse. This is doubly true for ambidextrous mice. Button layout is definitely one of the Kova's strengths. 6 of the 10 programmable buttons mirror each other in location, with 2 located right next to the left and right click buttons, and 4 located just above the thumb or ring finger. Initially, I thought this symmetrical placement might result in accidentally clicking with my ring finger. But the buttons are well made, and unless you squeeze very hard, this isn't really an issue. Underneath the scroll wheel is another button which lets you cycle through DPI settings. One thing lacking with the Kova is the ability to tell exactly which DPI setting you're on. The Corsair Sabre RGB gaming mouse and the Logitech G502 Proteus Spectrum both feature DPI indicators, while other mice have DPI adjustment buttons so you can easily go up or down a setting without having to cycle through all 5. One interesting feature on the Kova is Roccat's Easy Shift mode. Press the Easy Shift button to double the number of total button functions to 22. This level of control and customization should appeal to hardcore gamers, though memorizing all 22 functions could be a Herculean task. Still, this doesn't add to the Kova's price, and it's hard to argue against having more options. A potential drawback is the Kova's relatively low DPI. Its ProOptic R6 sensor reaches 3500 DPI and has a polling rate of up to 1000 Hz. Roccat says its overdrive mode effectively doubles the DPI to 7000, but that still pales in comparison to the Logitech G502's 12,000 DPI or the Razer Diamondback's 16,000 DPI. While the difference between, say, 12,000 DPI and 16,000 DPI isn't all that noticeable, it is more apparent between 7,000 DPI and 16,000 DPI. That gap should be taken with a grain of salt, however. For most gamers, 7,000 DPI is sufficient, and the trade-off between higher sensitivity and a lower price is a fair one. The major con with the Kova is the software. Roccat Swarm isn't hard to use per se. Its design is just overcrowded and less intuitive than competitors. For example, if you forget to hit the Apply button or Auto Apply before changing to another tab, you might be confused as to why your settings haven't changed. And hitting the OK button will exit the program altogether, which is frustrating and counterintuitive. Second, the Profile Manager and Macro Managers aren't as streamlined as they should be. You can have up to 5 game profiles stored on the Kova, but editing, exporting, importing, or rearranging their order requires pulling up a separate tab. The same applies for recording game-specific macros versus actually assigning them to buttons. And if this sounds confusing and tedious, it's because it is. That's a real shame considering the Kova's many strengths. The Kova is also compatible with other features like Alien FX and Talk FX, which enable effects that are specific to game events. For example, the lighting on the mouse can change from green to yellow to red based on the level of your health or mana. But to do this, you'll have to download and install additional updates for Rocket Swarm. The SteelSeries Rival 700 features the same lighting capabilities, but uses much less headache-inducing software. During a game of Overwatch, the Kova performed admirably in testing. It was responsive at both 3500 and 7000 DPI with no lag. The buttons are easy to reach, though cycling through all the DPI settings is somewhat of an annoyance. And unless you have a good memory, those extra seconds spent making sure you have the DPI you want can be costly, especially if you need to act fast. There is an Easy Aim 200 DPI button, which makes this less of an issue, but for gamers who prefer to have multiple quickly accessible settings, this might not be enough. To get around this, you can go through the software and program buttons to act as DPI up and down buttons through the Advanced Functions menu. There's no real good reason why these aren't among the preset configurations, and it's just more time that you have to spend futzing with the Rocket software. So that sums up our Rocket Kova review. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on the video. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have a great day.